Hi, everyone. Uh, so, after my video a few days ago detailing the unnecessary tests and sexual harassment that I had experienced at the doctor's office, I thought I'd do a part two. Um, One, to address the outpouring of love I received. Just really amazing people that have reached out to me and have told me how brave I was and thanked me for sharing and wanted to see how I was doing. Um, and, well, one, addressing how brave I am. I don't think I was being brave. I think, these kinds of things have just happened enough that I was fed up about it. And it was probably one of the safest, uh, you know, experiences I thought I could share because in any other case, many times sexual harassment uh, that is being experienced by the victim are done by people that they really can't speak out about or have they either have ties to them or absolutely no ties to them. And in my case, because it was experienced at a doctor's office, a place where people should feel safe, I felt um, more, uh, convinced that I should share it because that's never how you should feel at a doctor's office. And so hopefully it would be taken more seriously. But there are, as I have said, it is not the first time and it won't be the last time that I experience something like that at the hands of, you know, people that I probably wouldn't feel very comfortable reporting on. So I will say that. Um, and then just uh, people have been asking me to report the situation. I thought about it for a while, and you know, at first, I there were a few things to consider, right? So, one, whether or not I would be taken seriously, like putting myself out there uh, to people that I knew had a different impression of me, that didn't have the most respectful impression of me. Um, Two, possibly, just fear of retaliation of any kind. Um, but I will say that I did it. And that was because three, um, I thought if I were on a long list of people who had reported this incident or this type of incident, that it would help build a case. Um, and so I did report it. I called the doctor. Um, I started off by telling them, uh, I told them who I was. I So I called, sorry, I should rephrase that. I called the doctor's office, didn't expect the doctor to pick up, but she did, fortunately, uh, or maybe unfortunately when I play the clip. Um, but basically, I recounted my experience. I only talked about the uh, when he had gotten hard, and um, the first thing she did was respond with just surprise, um, but not not shock and horror on my side. She had actually started off by defending herself, just saying that this is weird. This is the first thing that, first time she's ever heard of this incident happening. Um, she said that this technician is a very nice man, he's married, he has a wife and kids. So right off the bat, I knew that this might not be something worth pursuing. Um, and it was the moment that I knew I needed to get a recording of it because this was just, you hear people who have experienced sexual harassment and sexual assault not being believed. And I just thought many of the times you don't think quickly enough to think that someone won't believe the horrendous thing you've just experienced. But I've heard enough of those stories to know that I probably should be ready to uh, get evidence in case something like that were to happen. And so once she started her conversation with how he's a respectable person, very nice, has a wife and kids, I knew I needed to get the rest of this on tape. She took that part of the harassment fairly seriously, which was very good. I have to say that I had appreciated some of the things she'd said about wanting to make sure she had a discussion with this person. Um, she this was probably a language thing, but said that she advocated for rape, and I think she meant that she advocated against rape. But again, um, that's neither here nor there. I did go on to explain the experience in detail. I just wanted to make sure that if this was the only time that I had a say, that I said everything. And I want to play a little clip for you. So here goes. He also, when we were almost done, he like touched my skin and then said, "You have really nice skin," in a weird way. And again, I don't want to make a big deal out of this. Again, I know that if I'm the first person to come forward, then it's always really hard. Um,
Touching, first of all, he has to touch your skin because when we do the allergy test, we have to check if the rate bump. So we cannot just look at you and say, "Oh, you have allergy to this and that." We have to check the bump.
Yes, he did.
I mean, like saying you're nice skin is, if I'm a confident woman and I walk to somewhere or somebody just compliment me, "Oh, I have nice hair or nice boobs or nice," do you think I get offended? No. I would be proud of myself. I want you to be super confident. If somebody, compliment you, don't take it as somebody wants to, sexually harass you or something. Take it as a compliment. And he's coming from a different culture. He's not Asian. He's not American. He's, from a different culture. This is a, cosmopolitan country, right?
So I'm going to stop there because at that point she starts to identify certain information about herself, about the culture that she's from, and her practices and all of those things. So I just wanted to make sure that I was able to protect that part of it. That was really hard to listen to. She both demeans my culture and defends his actions and just berates me as a person, telling me that I should be more confident and that if something like that were to happen to her, she would be proud. And I don't think she quite understood maybe what I was trying to say, because it is not a cat call or a wolf whistle from on the street, someone calling to you, which is already bad enough. It's you're in close quarters with a person that you don't feel comfortable with, and they are exerting certain powers over you, knowing full well that their actions were subtle enough that you wouldn't be able to have any holding against them in any court of law. I think that was what I got from that conversation, was that there wasn't anything there. First of all, she doesn't believe me, and therefore I don't trust her with my information. I didn't I didn't feel comfortable going forward to talk about the hair touching and all of the feelings, because clearly she wasn't interested in understanding that, or, you know, helping. She wasn't interested in supporting me. I also didn't trust that in her discussion with the technician that she would actually say his actions were not okay. I actually think she'd probably take his side and kind of warn him that this is happening and that he shouldn't be doing it. And just there was a lot of mistrust during that conversation. She, that was only a minute clip, but she goes into different prestigious practices that she has, how long she's been in practice. She made me feel like I didn't understand the culture and that certain things were okay for certain cultures. And because the perpetrator was not from America, that this was okay in his culture. And therefore, even if it's not okay in mine, I should be understanding of that. She goes on to the way she had laughed about when she had said the word sexual harassment. She goes on to do that a little bit more and compares it, what my experience was, to basically that it wasn't important enough because, if someone were to grab your boobs, it's different. That was a quote. Um, when I proceeded to try to convince her my side of it and tell her why it was so weird, the tone and all of those things, she had justified that the touching of my skin was his job. I mean, again, went just kept kept at that perspective of the story where he was just doing his job. And again, that was a scenario that had played in my head, which deterred me from wanting to make the report. But I tried again to state my case, uh, and she dismissed it again. She did go on to mention how she uh, works with high end clients like supermodels, and that has never happened before. Therefore, comparing me to the status of a supermodel and how I really don't compare, um, which was really offensive, and was like, it basically was her saying, well, if this doesn't happen to supermodels, it probably doesn't happen to you. And I think that was when I knew, because at first I was okay with her wanting to have that discussion with the man. At least, hopefully, it would scare him enough to not ever do it again. Um, but then I retracted because I did not trust that she had my best interests at heart. And I told her, you know what? Don't have the discussion with him. I think keep it in the back of your mind. And if someone else were to come to you about this, um, then have the conversation, because then you have a case. Because, and I didn't say this part, but because clearly you don't believe me. So I'm not quite sure what to do in this case or where to go from here. Um, Open to suggestions, uh, but it feels like a bit of a dead end. And again, I just wanted to share because these things happen and they shouldn't happen and they shouldn't be so normal and normalized. Um, the worst thing I think about the ordeal is it is not severe enough that people will take it seriously because you can't prove anything. And there are worse crimes and worse things that are done that you can't provide evidence for. And you've seen these things on the news where, depending on privilege and status and bias, um, people will get away with things like this. Um, but again, it's not okay. Uh, and so I can't say it enough. And hopefully, this story helps. Hope it helps empower people, because maybe you are on a list of people that have, said something about someone who has done something, and they just need to have more people on that list in order to believe that the first person's was valid. So that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for listening.